This is the Chum Bucket, home to the worst food in Bikini Bottom, and the saddest business owner under the sea. But you'd think that after 2 decades of failure, we'd know every rusty corner of this place by now.
Ouch.
But man, were we so wrong. Behind the usual front counter, lab for evil experiments, kitchen, and dining area, the Chum Bucket is a total evil mystery wrapped in stainless steel. We're cracking open the blueprints of Bikini Bottom's most suspicious establishment to answer the question, how exactly does the Chum Bucket even work? To start off, we just want to let you know that the Chum Bucket isn't like any other cartoon restaurant you've seen. A quick look at the layout over the years should be all you need to know that it's the literal definition of a contradiction. But we're sure some Plankton fans won't agree with this, so we'll break it down. Starting with how the Chum Bucket looks like a tiny one-room shack from the outside. But once you take that first step, it's like you've been transported to another dimension. To keep things simple, we're going to say the Chum Bucket's interior layout starts out as a simple floor with 3 canon rooms, consisting of a dining hall, a kitchen, and a lab hybrid room, and a computer room for Karen. If you're one of those SpongeBob fans who thinks the Chum Bucket can't possibly have just 3 rooms, you're absolutely right. That rusty tin can of a restaurant somehow hides secret rooms and tunnels like it's auditioning for a spy house. But we'll get to that madness in a bit. First, we need to talk about the whale in the room. And no, we're not talking about Pearl. We're talking about how those 3 rooms make absolutely no sense. Starting with the dining area. In the episode Plankton, we get our first real peek inside the Chum Bucket. And to everyone's surprise, it somehow manages to pull off a dining hall so spacious it could hold a Bikini Bottom Comic-Con.
Hey everyone, Chum is fun!
But that's the only thing that the Chum Bucket's dining hall has going for it, because it's really just a waiting room for disappointment.
It's worth it to live forever!
In the episode Chum Bucket Supreme, we actually see customers at the restaurant. But as they fill the dining room, it's apparent that something odd is going on. Even though Chum is still disgusting, Patrick's dumb idea gets customers through the door, and it gives us another opportunity to see the Chum Bucket's seating area, and it only brings up more questions. With how the room accommodates the horde of customers, you could say it takes up more than 50% of the interior space, but that would be a lie. In Plankton's Good Eye, we actually discover that the dining area leads to the kitchen with a single door when SpongeBob throws a surprise party for Plankton. This overhead view of the Chum Bucket even exposes the ordering area, showing just how different it is from the Krusty Krab. Instead of relying on a grumpy squid like Mr. Krabs, Plankton just has a glass window for taking orders of chum. Take a good look at how the front counter sits on the other side of the wall, cause we will be coming back to that. But first, we have to talk about the kitchen, because if the dining area alone takes up that much space, you have to wonder what's left for the other parts of the Chum Bucket we haven't seen. As suspicious as the dining area might look, it's nothing compared to Chum Bucket's kitchen. What differentiates the Chum Bucket's kitchen from the other kitchens in Bikini Bottom is that it also moonlights as Plankton's secret laboratory, where evil experiments take place.
I can't wait to see the look on Crab's face!
Like in the episode The Algae's Always Greener, where we see Karen suggest that Plankton uses his latest invention to switch places with Mr. Krabs.
I'm in the Krusty Krab. And that means the life switcher was a success! The Krusty Krab is mine!
This time, it's like a kitchen and laboratory hybrid. But in the episode, Someone's in the Kitchen with Sandy, the kitchen aspect disappears entirely, replaced by wires, pipes, and Karen's monitor. One minute he's cooking chum, the next he's building death rays. You can't even tell where one ends and the other begins. But that's not the only time we've seen Plankton's lab in its full glory. In the episode, Welcome to the Chum Bucket, Mr. Krabs loses SpongeBob to Plankton on a bet, and we truly get to see what it'd be like if SpongeBob worked there, but nothing makes sense. Instead of a grill, fryer, or any other item you'd find in a regular kitchen, the Chum Bucket's kitchen is filled with gadgets that feel like they were ripped right out of a sci-fi movie. Before you can even wrap your head around how Plankton fits his kitchen into that sorry excuse for a restaurant, he hits you hard with Karen's room. In Plankton, we first see her as just a monitor bolted to the wall. Basically a glorified calculator with sass. But by computer overload, she's suddenly mobile and operating out of a room filled with glowing lights, high-tech parts, and enough wiring to power all of Bikini Bottom. Plankton also shows off a door where his new creations come out from, and unless he has a second lab, he just whipped out a new room with a push of a button. It really makes you wonder if that new room was a figment of his imagination. Once she transitions to a mobile unit, we hardly ever see her on the huge monitor in the dining area. Apparently, Plankton can't make up his mind if Karen stays in the kitchen or in her room because it changes in several episodes. Based on the real estate Karen takes up in the Chum Bucket, we've come to the conclusion that Plankton somehow developed the technology to fold space for Karen's room. Being a scientist, it would explain how Karen's room expands or shrinks according to the plot. But we're just getting started. Moving away from the canon rooms, now it's time to talk about the others that don't make sense at all, starting with the storage room. Nobody in their right mind would look at the Chum Bucket and think it's big enough to house a storage room. But in the episode Bucket Sweet Bucket, we learned that apart from the dining area, kitchen, and Karen's room, the Chum Bucket also has space for a storage room. As Plankton tricks SpongeBob and Patrick into helping him decorate the Chum Bucket, it goes from failure to failure until it eventually turns into the Krusty Krab. To make matters worse, the storage section never makes it to any other episode, and other times, Plankton just stores things in his kitchen like the madman he is. Another room that hardly ever makes it to our screens is the Chum Bucket's toilet. In Chum Fricassee, we see that it's situated somewhere near the kitchen door after Squidward takes Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob in to mock them. Apart from the fact that it's just as disgusting as the Krusty Krab's toilet, we don't know much about the toilet because we don't see much of it. Moving on, the next room that we really need to talk about is the underground space where Plankton stores his toys. We already knew Plankton was unhinged for turning his kitchen into a mad science lab, but the haunted bucket really showed us he was up to no good. Out of nowhere, we see a door that leads to the basement lab where Plankton carries out those experiments he doesn't want getting out. You'd think that establishes the fact that the door is the only route to the basement. But in the episode Spy Buddies, we see Plankton whip up a hot air balloon from under the Chum Bucket. The only reason we even got to see any of this was because Patrick blew up the Chum Bucket with an explosive fart. The show doesn't even bother explaining how all that delicate tech survived the blast, let alone how Plankton managed to fit it all under a fast food shack. Still, one explanation for how he managed to fit the hot air balloon under the Chum Bucket was revealed in the episode Chum Caverns. During one of Plankton's formula heists, he builds a drilling machine to sneak into the Krusty Krab, but discovers a system of underground tunnels. With underground tunnels, Plankton could fit all sorts of things that never could in the Chum Bucket.
I've never seen such beauty.
And even though they don't show the underground tunnels a lot, it's still a valid explanation. With that out of the way, remember the front counter and how it sits on a totally different wall than the kitchen? Now's the perfect time to talk about it because it makes no sense. With the location of the front counter, it looks like the Chum Bucket should have an extra room at the back to accommodate the space. But we know that's not possible. How do you explain a room like that in a circular building with massive rooms? Either Karen secretly installed quantum tunneling tech, or Nickelodeon's animators just said, physics is optional. Either way, we have to shine a light on another area of Plankton's stainless steel abomination, and this time, it's his bedroom. In Bottle Burglars, we see Plankton take an elevator to a surprisingly cozy space with 2 beds, pink wallpapers, and romantic lighting. Basically, a honeymoon suite for the single-celled organism and his wife. But fast forward to Gary and Spot, and we see SpongeBob's pet taking a secret passage to the bedroom from the outside. As if 2 sketchy routes to his bedroom wasn't enough, the episode, The Haunted Bucket, shows Plankton getting sucked into a tube that spits him in the same bedroom. For a house made up of rusted steel and failed dreams, that's a suspicious number of ways to get to bed. And finally, despite how confusing the interior of the Chum Bucket sounds, it doesn't hold a candle to the exterior. From the outside, the Chum Bucket looks simple, just a metal bucket with a door. But like everything else in Bikini Bottom, that's where the lies begin. Depending on the episode, this restaurant either has 1 entrance, 2, or none at all. In Plankton, we see a normal front door leading straight into the lab. In FUN though, the front door opens into a massive dining room that appears by the next season. Then there's Bucket Sweet Bucket, where the building magically grows extra windows and a 2nd floor overnight. You'd think Plankton ordered a renovation, but no. By the next episode, the whole thing's back to its bucket with a whole look. The funniest part? In Spongicus, we see an arena-sized interior with Colosseum seating somehow crammed inside that tiny tin can. Either the Chum Bucket runs on alien technology, or Bikini Bottom has 0 respect for spatial consistency. Even the sign out front can't stay the same. Sometimes it's hanging neatly above the door, sometimes it's crooked, and sometimes it's huge enough to block traffic. At this point, you have to agree that even though the Chum Bucket is a fictional restaurant, it bends the laws of physics so much Plankton might as well be an alien. If you stuck around till the end of the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel or we will deliver a bucket of chum to your home.